Hello. I would like to welcome the panelists on the stage. This specific talk is going to be looking at the art fair as a platform for commissions. So as you guys may already know, there are two different commissions that are taking place throughout the art fair. First is the Gateway, which is a pavilion that is in Gallery 3. Yeah. And then of course we have the Beyond projects, which is focusing on emerging artists. And on stage with us, we have our commissioned artist as a part of Gateway, Mohammed Ahmed Ibrahim, the curator of Gateway, Maya, Alison, Christiana Demarchi, the curator of Beyond Emerging Artists, alongside with Mohammed Kadhim, who is not on stage with us today, Sheikh Al-Mazrou, who is one of the emerging artists, and Jmeiri, the gentleman on the far left.
All right. Okay.
Great. So, just to start, I would like to ask Maya, if you could just talk to us a little bit more about the through lines when looking at Beyond and understanding, Gateway, and understanding how it came about and what the theme is. And
okay. So just to, this is really loud. Just to clarify, I think that was a typo. There are several exhibitions that have been commissioned, right? So there's the Gateway exhibition, which I'm curating, and then the Beyond exhibition, right? No, there's Beyond and then there's emerging artists, yeah, okay. So Gateway is the name of the section that I was asked to curate, and the name of the exhibition is Line. And I was asked to connect some of the senior established artists in the UAE with international artists as well. And this was because I had been doing a fair amount of research into the UAE's art history, in particular the avant-garde that was very active from the 80s all the way up until the present. So as I'm thinking about this, one of the artists that I have worked quite a bit with is Mohammed Ahmed Ibrahim, to my left. And in this image here in the foreground is the first time that I showed his work. It's a pile of rocks that are taken from the mountains of Corfacon, and they've been wrapped in wire. And as I was, and so this was the first time I really got to know his work. And what I want to talk about here is the story of how I came to an actual commission, which is a big part of that for me is getting to know the artist well enough to understand what it would mean to commission them and what you would ask for, because it's going to be really different with every artist. The next slide, please. Is that you? Okay. I'm going to try moving this. I think it's too loud. Okay, let's see if I can hold it here. The next time that I showed his work was in the exhibition that was this spring, but we cannot see them. And you'll see here on your left the early paintings from his career, some of the sculpture that he's really well known for. And on the right-hand side, a series of small line drawings, which I fell in love with over the course of this exhibition. So, you know, I've gotten to know his work, and I definitely knew his land art really well, but the line drawings really started to grow on me. Next slide. Okay. When I first visited his studio, I saw this picture on the wall. It was almost like a little postcard. And I remember when I visited your studio, I said, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's from when we had our exhibition in Sittard. It was when the 5 artists from the UAE first exhibited in Europe, in Holland." And I saw it and I thought, there is so much potential here. You know, I've seen these little bits of his art, but when I saw this, I had the sense of, you know, what he might be capable of. So this really stayed in my mind as we were working on the historical exhibition. I kept sort of coming back to this image and I was thinking, you know, should we add this to the exhibition? But recreating it didn't seem like the right idea. The next slide. Maybe should I just take it? And then we come to Gateway. So this is the exhibition, this is the installation that's on right now. So you can see there's a lot of similarity to the 1995, but some significant differences. One of the things that happened with Muhammad's work recently was that he started to do this sort of three-dimensional version of the line that has this incredible texture that you can't really see in this image. And so the commissioning process was really, for me, this is me as a curator who knows the artist well, and I said to him, you know, I'm doing this exhibition. I would like to propose that there's a room that you just fill with your line project if you would be interested in, and that it would, you know, and I referenced the sitar installation. And this is a really luxurious position to be in as a curator because I trust him and I know that he will just take it and run if he agrees to it, and he did. It was amazing. So we had a sort of WhatsApp studio visit. He would send me pictures by WhatsApp, and I'd be like, all right, great, keep going. But it really was this wonderful moment of surprise because I knew we were both working from this idea and also from his new work, and then he shows up and starts installing. And so then that was the moment when the final work was born, actually in the space working together. Mostly him and then some commenting, but it's a very different commission process than it might be with an artist that I don't know, where I have to, you know, visit their studio and make sure we all understand each other and so on. So that's the brief introduction, which is long.
Great. Mohammed, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this specific piece, and now that we've understood the commissioning process between you and Maya, of course, in relationship to all of the pieces that are taking place, that can be seen within the pavilion, I wanted you to talk to us a little bit more about these lines. How did they come about, and how did you arrive at this, you know, moment of having, you know, the big lines, the smaller lines, and what the history of these lines are? Because as most know, there's
it's when we go to our Oriental heritage, we found a lot of talk about the lines, and they said, Ikhwan al-Safa as example, they said if you move the dot, you will get the line. If you have more than line, you will get the surface. And if you get more surface, you will get the object. So, in this way, and if you go to the Eastern culture also, I'm not far away from Mondrian or Malevich. Yeah. And even when go back to my roots as example, I saw these lines when I am in my childhood and on the wall. Who's the bringing the water to the house? He put a line so he can, in the end of the week or end of the month, he can count how many trip he bring him water. When I like this idea for this line, then I start to make more lines. That's meaning the bills is increasing for my father. Then I got very nice punishment. Yeah. Because of that, I love the lines. Yeah, and as Maya, she said, really I focus on this line and earlier of 19th. As I am looking to the window, I have nothing to do. Then I start to collect the line, the kind of the car which is passing. As example, Toyota, I put one group like this brand, another group like this. Then I found it, I like it. So this is the stories coming about the lines, but even now we have a lot of lines, but sometimes, especially when Arabic, in our culture, we say, as example, if we say khat, that's meaning line, khat in Arabic meaning in our meaning street, meaning choreography, meaning a lot of things يعني. So if you have one line, it give you a meaning, but if you get more lines, you will get more strong meaning or more concept. But the lines meaning here, lines is meaning is kind of repeating, but at the same time is not repeating, and it give you a kind of لو قلنا بالعربي الإصرار والجدية يعني.
It has like a certain weight to it that is present when you have the repetition of these lines coming together.
Yeah, the lines is give us that meaning.
Thank you. On that note, we'll move towards the Beyond Emerging Artists. Christiana, if you could just talk to us about the curatorial practice that took place. And from my understanding, it was a 6-month session where you were with the 3 artists, and the 3 artists were engaged in critique and had various things that they had to discuss and study, and there were study trips. So perhaps you could just shed a little bit more light on that.
Yes, with pleasure. When Mohammed Kazem and myself were invited to curate this section of the commissions, the Beyond Emerging Artists, we started thinking about what is needed. I mean, behind the typical commission, which is obviously resulting in a new piece of art. That was one of the aims. But after selecting the artist, we started questioning what is missing really, and we wanted to create the opportunity not only to have a new piece of art, but also to have a path taken to there, and in a way reflecting on ideas of community, and of course the lack of critical discourse that we always address here in the UAE. So we thought of on one side, we had a series of trips outside the UAE, which were like either for visiting the Venice Biennale and the Documenta, but also for offering some of two of the artists specifically. The 3 artists are Sheikh Al-Mazrou, Ala Idris, and Jumeiri. And each one of them wanted to develop a new project, so we studied what did they really need in order to develop it properly. So, for instance, Sheikha, who works in the domain of a sculpture, came with a certain concept that she wanted to develop, and based on our experience, we made it possible for her to travel to Kunstgießerei in St. Gallen, Switzerland, which is a fabricator for artists, and which Sheikha will talk more in detail about her experience there. But it's an incredible place where basically they have a library of materials and an expertise developed enough to really assist artists in creating their work. And in the case of Ala Idris, she wanted to work on a performance where acting would be involved. And so we found a voice coach and actress in London, and Ala took a series of classes with this actress, which helped then performing the videos that we will have a chance to see later. So these was like the workshops which were like more educational in a way, and more specifically addressing the practicalities and the material of the project. But then considering the lack of a critical discourse, and also reflecting as a result of our experience as artists as well, because both Mohammed and myself, we are artists and curators, so we are a bit in that position, which is a transient position. So we organized a series of workshops, critical workshops with writers based in the UAE, and that went through the 6-month project, and were based on conversations, interviews, transcript, and redirecting and revisiting the themes, not only of this specific commission, but more in general about the practice of the artist. So as a mean of a way of supporting in the whole process. And this is not, I mean,